morning, everybody. It's Ben Jones here with Badger from Bronson Coffee Roasters, hanging out in the coffee workshop again. I'm gonna turn off the water. What is the Aerowave? That's what we're going to talk about today. There has been a video going around on all the social medias with this thing that's being promoted as the Aerowave. What it is it's a new way to use the AeroPress. I don't know if it's a new way, but it's gaining some traction and popularity again. Standard AeroPress, we put things in like this, add in all of our coffee and our water, and then of course there's the inverted method, which is where you flip it upside down with the plunger inserted before you start. Well, the wave portion refers to the Kalita wave. And it is more than simply placing your Kalita on top of the AeroPress, inserting your plunger, brewing through the Kalita, and then using this as your mug. It's an option. I don't recommend it. But the actual Aerowave is, we're going to set aside the AeroPress for this one. We're going to set aside the Wave brewer, and I'm going to reach for one of the Wave filters, and we're going to use the AeroPress funnel. In terms of coffee brewing philosophy, the theory is solid. You have some type of filter media, and you have a way to support that filter so that you can percolate your water through that bed of coffee and make yourself a cup. So we're going to see how this works. To tell you the truth, I've seen kind of different variations of this, but I've never actually done it myself. If you don't have the Kalita Wave filters, you can also try just any good old-fashioned paper filter. This is one of those videos where it's just kind of a fun thing to experiment with. I can't imagine any scenario where I would have my AeroPress funnel, a wave filter, and not have access to my Kalita Wave or, of course, my AeroPress. Much like some of my earlier videos where we were just taking paper cups and stabbing holes and trying to use that as a filter. AeroPress travels phenomenally well. Classic one or the AeroPress Go. They're both fantastic for that. So let's look at what we're going to do here. We just have the filter and the funnel. That sits inside. I'm a little nervous that adding water and coffee will draw the filter down and through the hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold that over a little bit and then put a binder clip on there to hold that. And I know that disrupts the wave portion of it, but for trial number one, I'm not really interested in cleaning up coffee off of my countertop. I got more things that I want to do today. So I'm just going to clip on my filter, and we have our funnel. If I put this directly onto my diner mug, the funnel portion, of course, will be sitting farther down in, and then I'm going to get brew water interfering with my coffee. So I'm going to sit inside the mug, and I'm just going to reach for a decanter. It has a nice wide base, so I'll be able to pour everything in and get that. Now, these wave filters, they're manufactured in such a way that they recommend not rinsing them. They've been, for whatever reason, they don't need it quite as much. So I'm going to forego the rinse. And I have my standard serving of 19 grams ground coffee. This is just a nice medium drip size, what I would use for the Kalita Wave. I figure I'm using the same filter. I'll have a little bit different dynamic with water passing through the deep hold filter instead of the small restricted flow of this, but it's worth a go. I can always just change my speed of pour to control that. Timer is on. Start the time. My water is nice and hot. I'm going to add just about 40 grams water. And for those of you who have other things to do today, this is going to be pretty much just your standard pour over video from here on out. We got a little bubbling. I'm just going to give a little shake. So I'm gonna give it a shake. Sometimes I'll take a bamboo skewer, chopstick, give it a little stir to break up if I have a dry clump. Good 30 seconds. That lets the gases escape, and then I'll just come back in. I'm just gonna break up the wet portion or the dry portions. Anything that's sitting there, real dark clumps, just gonna break it up. I don't have a whole lot of room to let things rise, so let's put this in. All right, I want to talk real quickly while that drips down. I have seen, and I've tried this before, people will put their filter in the AeroPress, add their coffee just as normal, and then use this as a drip-through brewer. Because, you know, as you pour water into here, it does drip out. So they'll try to use that sort of like we would use for a V60 or any other mug top drip-through brewer. The challenge with this is that the geometry of the AeroPress isn't ideal for drip-through percolation. The beauty of the AeroPress is you get that big steep, and then the plunger forces all the water through, so you get a much more even extraction. If you're using this tall column, the water up here gets wet, the water down here is soaking, so if it takes, let's just say it takes a minute for water to pass through from here to here, all the water down below is exposed to a lot, or the coffee down below, excuse me, is exposed to a lot more water than the coffee grounds on top. That causes an increased risk of uneven extraction. Think of it as trying to bake a giant triangle loaf of bread. Triangle in the sense that you have like the really thin point and then a large piece. Picture trying to bake a brontosaurus cake, a 3D brontosaurus shape, or if you're barbecuing at the grill, imagine, if you will, a meat with a really odd taper to it, really thick portions, really thin portions. It's just harder to cook it evenly all the way through. Same principle with coffee. We want to generally get all the grounds exposed to close enough to the same amount of water, which is why the geometry on these works. It's a little more open. We have more even exposure. Anyway, the AeroPress is not my choice for a drip-through percolator. Let's see how the funnel does. Again, I can't really imagine any scenarios where this would be incredibly necessary. However, proof of concept, something fun to do on a Friday. I would be really very curious to find out when I might be in a place where I would have my funnel, but not my AeroPress. Although you could do this with any old kitchen funnel, you may want to put some holes in it. Make sure your plastic is food grade. Anyway, there's some really great equipment for brewing coffee without having to jimmy rig stuff. The V60 is great. We're going to come back to this next week. I'll play with the V60 with something I don't do much with. Of course, you have the Clever Dripper, which is great. We're now 4.5 minutes into this brew, and it's kind of slowing down quite a bit. I imagine that we're getting some fines clogging the bottom of the filter. I'm just going to lift these edges a little bit. That allows for some more airflow to pass through, and that encourages a faster flow. So over here on this edge, where the funnel meets flush with the decanter, that prevents airflow. I do have, however, the spout, which allows for air to vent out as brew water goes in. And there we are. We're just shy of 5 minutes on that brew. Let's set that aside. And we do have a cup of coffee. So, proof of concept, you can use your AeroPress funnel and a wave filter to filter out grounds from the steeping water. And as they say, the proof is in the pudding. But the coffee. This is fun. I have a big surprise. We're drinking some of Batter from Bronson's Colombia Las Brisas. I did not pick up my new supply of coffee, so I only had about 12 grams of Las Brisas. So for the remainder, I turned to a little bit of our Burundi Gahahe. So we have 12 grams and 7 grams of Las Brisas and Burundi. And this is really nice. It has a most prominent flavor is kind of peach cobbler. There's a little peachiness that comes from the Gahahe. And then there's a nice spice that we're getting out of that Colombia. So it's like the cinnamon spice that you would top on the crumble with on a peach cobbler. But more than that, it tastes like a cup of coffee. It's a good cup of coffee. So this works. This is an option. Maybe somebody has lost their AeroPress and all they have left is the funnel and a bunch of filters. If you ever find yourself in this situation, you can do the Aerowave. And again, if you don't have the Kalita Wave specific filters, you can use anything. You could drop a Chemex filter into there. That would do the same thing. Pardon me. Toss that into the compost. You could put a Chemex filter in there. You could put a regular flat bottom for your, for your auto drip brewer filter in there. In a pinch, if we were a zombie apocalypse scenario, I am going to probably project that I'm not above when the world is falling apart. I would not be above just lining this with a towel or a clean t-shirt. A pair of socks, it would work if they were brand new. All right, thank you for joining us today. That's another way to use your AeroPress gear. Do I endorse it? No. Is it kind of fun to try once or twice? Sure. Yeah, give it a try. The equipment makes it nice and easy. I started fly fishing, and I'm not trying to get into all the crazy gear. I don't want to be out there with all the vests and all the accoutrement that goes with it. And I'm really kind of drawn to just like getting a nice, cane pole. Maybe you don't even have a reel on it. Just tie a heavy line and a little fly. Point being, you can find things around and you can make them work. A little bit of the right equipment. Still one of my favorite brewers I have. Plastic Mojito cone. Less than $5, even with inflation. And it works perfectly well. I can find those filters anywhere. Point is, enjoy good coffee. Visit batdwarfcoffee.com. If you need any coffee for Christmas, I would definitely place your order as soon as you can, because we'll be roasting Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, but after that, we won't be able to get it to you on time. All right. Thanks for joining. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here. I will see you on Monday. I won't be here, though. I can't talk about the V60 on Monday. I've got something else going on. But I'll be here somewhere. I'll be live with you Monday morning. All right. Take care.